Alright, welcome to another video. This is going to be a very heavy-handed video. I'm going to be talking through a lot of things, but it's basically concerning the balance update that just got released into the game. Now, initially I didn't know how to start this video off because it's so much information that is happening. But I thought it best to just start from the game itself, and basically that allows me to have a look at things and shift in between games and in between the game and the patch notes. So the balance update just came out. I think it came out at, basically in my country here it's 3 p.m. so I think for US it's about 3 a.m. so I think people will be waking up to the balance update, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, the big balance update, to give a context of it, it's basically what SG feels the game needs to have a little bit of change in the landscape of things. What they mean by that, it's by buffing up to 200 different heroes and at the same time nerfing some of those heroes as well. That was the whole essence of the big balance update. It was not happily received by the players, up to the point where there were movements on basically disapproving this balance update. And people have been talking so much about it, the fact that why are there nerfs and why are there changes to these heroes. I mean, predominantly the argument was always about the nerfs, and you can't fault these players because nerfs comes at a heavy price. It comes it's pretty sickening to have you build up a hero, you level the hero, you give valuable resources to the hero, only for it to get nerfed in a way that it makes it not so relevant or irrelevant in the meta. So today we're going to talk about what actually happened with the balance update now that they released, and how it how I feel will change the landscape of things as it goes by. Now, in the beta notes, right, there was talk about the balance update, the big balance update, where they buffed 200 heroes and they also nerfed a section of heroes. Now in this balance update which they released in the game right now, let's just have a look. So they gave us 3 Aether reset tokens as well, and I'm going to talk about them in a while, but let's just look at the more info and let's see where we're going. And I hope this actually gets recorded correctly, because I've never done this before. I've always only recorded within the game, but I hope it's good. So the June 2023 balance update. So immediately you see, with more than 200 legendary heroes receiving at least one buff, no heroes are being nerfed in this update. Now this is very this is a play by SG. I feel that this is the play by SG. And I'll explain that as I go through the updates, but I thought I would just go through the updates first and see what is it all about before I talk a bit more on that. Epic and rare heroes are not receiving any individual adjustments yet, which I find very saddening, but it also means that there are potential for epic and rare heroes to receive adjustments as they move forward in the game. It's a hope. It's wishful thinking, I know, because obviously in games like this, it's very rare for the developers to kind of focus too much on the rare and epic versions of the heroes, because the main bread and butter has always been 5 stars. But as the game goes by with the Aether, with the Alpha Aethers, you can see heroes like Laiju, Shrubbear, Felton being some of those rare and epic heroes that potentially can play in the big boy leagues as well. Felton has been used to basically steal Ludwig buffs, steal Aramis buffs. I don't think it steals Aramis buffs. It steals Hathor's buffs as well. So, those kind of rare and epic heroes do play a part in this new meta that we're in. And maybe, this individual adjustments for epic and rare heroes will come on a later date, which I'm really hopeful that they do. So then they go on to say this balance update has gone through multiple rounds of beta testing over several weeks, additional internal revisions based on the feedback gathered, and I'm going to assume that it's because of the movement that has been going around, the noseband movement, all sorts of movements that has been happening. I didn't really take part in it. It has been my initial thoughts of not to spend too much in the game. I did, for the better part of it, have been disciplining myself not to spend too much at the game, which I've, ultimately did. And it's basically, so they go on and say we had initially prepared a wider and more direct set of changes, which did include a number of nerfs, but I've ultimately decided to take a more conservative approach at this point in time, considering how volatile the post-Aether power landscape still is. We will of course keep a very close eye on how this update affects the game and continue to gather more data. I don't like the way this is being put, because it feels like SG is just preparing people to, like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna buff this whole bunch of meta heroes right now, and in a few weeks' time, I'm gonna drop a nerf hammer so hard that is gonna make people start to complain again. And I feel that players who look at this and say that, oh, you know what, this is a good thing. This is a good thing that they're only going with the buffs. I'm thinking of it from both points. I'm thinking of it from both parties at the same time, the positive and the negatives. And I think this is actually really, really bad. Like, I feel that they should have waited instead of just buffing. And I'm going to explain why as we go on. But they should have waited for the nerfs as well, because then it provides a more clearer picture as to what is happening. Like, I think right now, the meta right now hasn't fully been solved, right? The meta hasn't been solved. You see players from different alliances. Different alliances are playing with purple tanks, purple yellow, Arco tanks are still around. Mixed tanks with Hathor are still around. So the meta is not solved, and the only way that it's actually solved is in the very, very top tier, where I believe, if you spend a certain amount, you can get, up to 30 Aramises or Hurricanes or 30 Ludwigs in order for you to, produce a defense battlefield where it becomes such a pain in the ass to deal with. But the meta is not solved anywhere beyond that point. Like, if you look from the top, maybe not. Let's not look from the top two. Let's look from the top three, the third ranked all the way down, and that's where you see that the meta isn't solved yet. Even in my alliances, in the alliance that I'm in right now, we are not fully solved on what exactly that we are going to be doing for each war. In terms of tank colors. So, because of that meta landscape, the fact that it's not changing, I'm wondering if this is too hasty of SG to come up with this balance adjustments. So let's look at this. So hero power adjustments. So this is the whole reason why this balance update is coming. There are hero power adjustments for over 200 legendary heroes, and we're going to start by increasing the stats for all these families that are around. Plus 60 power, plus 50 power, plus 40 power. You can see all these powers increases to all these families. And I can tell you all these families are basically the new heroes that are around. So they even state like plus 25 power to Springvale families, heroes that are released in 2023 only. So it's basically only two heroes, Archie and Jasper. Ninja family heroes that are released in 2023. So it's basically the new, I would say the third or fourth generation of ninjas. I think it's the fourth generation, where Amethyst, Serendite, Oniwakamaru, Kushanku, Azurite, Mewinni, Aconite, and I'm probably gonna miss a couple more. But essentially, that's the only ones that they are actually giving the power to. So where this is one that I don't understand. Why are they giving this power and not to some heroes which need it? Like, for example, Cobalt, Onyx, Ruby, those heroes are basically, ninjas that are getting pushed back because they won't be able to keep up with the power creep unless you limit break them and double limit break them potentially, in order for them to actually play in the same field as these overpowered places. Like I give you an example: plus 60 power to super elemental family. We're gonna see. Let's jump ahead of ourselves here. So plus 60 power. I think the first one that they're showing is Econia. So let's look at Econia first. So Econia stats increase. Look at the amount of stats that she gets increased by: 813 to 871 attack, 801 to 859 defense, 1540 to 1705 health. Look at the amount of stats that gets increased here. I have Econia myself, and I have just limit broken Econia. So let me just give you an idea. So I like that now I can shift back to the game. Let me just show you what my Econia is like. So previously Econia was about, I think it was like 1002 power, total power, and now that is increased to like, yeah, so it was plus 60 power, right? So it was essentially 1009 before that. And with this, look at this, when you have limit broken her: 1057 attack, 1006 defense, 1910 health, and she's a rogue. You know how difficult it is to kill her if you're not using limit broken heroes? Even if you put her in like the wing, which I'm currently doing, it's so, like, the stat boost is crazy for super elemental families. Like Econia, you look at Jakun as well. I mean, look at his stats. Okay, defense probably not so bleh, but I mean, just look at the stat buffs for this. It's crazy how they're doing this. So let's look at let's go back to that balance update, and we're gonna move on a little bit quicker with this. So you can see all the power increases, and then they go on to say individual exceptions, because they are testing it and they found them extremely powerful. They are not receiving a stat boost to Aramis, Ferdinand, Hathor, Jove, and Ogima. I think this is one step in the right direction, because let's face it, Aramis is too overpowered. No one can argue about that. Even at the top level, when I watch these YouTube videos from 7 Days Departed, when I look at videos from Gypsy Danger, okay, they're not complaining to the forums that Aramis needs to be nerfed, but they are getting frustrated themselves at how difficult it is to kind of, solve the problem that is Aramis. So, it's a step in the right direction that they're not receiving stats boosts for now. But I feel that there's something missing here, and let me just go on a little bit for the second part. The following heroes have also proven to be quite powerful, but not as much as the ones in the list above. As such, they are receiving only a partial stat boost of plus 20 hero power, which is, by the way, still more than some of these families here. You see, plus 15 power to season 4 heroes that are released after December 2022, Mystery family, which is Mystero and Enigmo, Gargoyle family, Arco, Gosak, Hohenwerth, El Duke. There's that new purple donkey as well. Winter family after 2022, which means Augustus, Peppermint, Tinsel, Molovia family. Heroes released after 2022, it's only Alucard, Matilda, and Miriam. And then plus 10 power to Kingdom family, and then plus 5 power to Legends 2022 family. These are, almost irrelevant. But yeah, so plus 20 power, and look at the heroes, by the way, that are only receiving 20 power as opposed to their respective family power boosts. Like, for example, Springvale family, I think what they're getting was supposed to be plus 25 power. Musketeer family was plus 35 power, and they're not giving it to Archie, Athos, Barkley, Camilla, and all these heroes right here. The one thing that I'm very worried about is Hurricane. If anybody has seen Hurricane as a tank, when you deal with Hurricane, you know he hits like a truck, and he hits even harder than Aramis. I've done a video testing it as well. Close to 1,000 damage. With this stat increase, he will deal about 1,000 damage, and that's crazy. But I'm still okay with this. It's SG trying to correct itself, but it's also what I feel to be kind of a trap, where it's like saying, hey, you know what? Let me give you this small power boost, and then I'm gonna hit you with a nerf hammer by saying that, you know what? We've made a mistake here. Heroes like Erlang Shen, which is so powerful in Equalizer, uh, Hurricane, which deals too much damage to tree, Milady, which is like freaking 6 turns in Rush for not being able to place buffs on yourself or ailments on the enemy. Instead, they get reflected. Narcissa and Riz, we all know as bards that are, extremely strong. They're gonna come up with saying that, you know what, we're gonna hit you with a nerf so badly that it might change the way what meta that was not solved, it will remain unsolved, because you're going to bring what SG is doing right now is going to push you into a new meta, a different kind of meta where things might be different from what you're originally trying to get used to. I'm not saying getting used to, you're trying to get used to, because as I mentioned, the meta is not solved. I would think the meta is not solved for anything other than the top two, potentially even the top one alliance. So that's something to consider here as well. Part of this balance update adjustments, another part of it is also the costume adjustments, and this is my favorite part of the adjustments, because it gives you more, it suddenly gives you a little bit more space to kind of play with. All Valhalla realms, I wouldn't look at the top two. I think because the top two is just basically an increase in attack, defense, and health, not so much on the mana gain. But the bottom three, Atlantis, Sakura, Lagoon families, which is basically season 2, the costume changes from 1% mana to 5% mana, which helps a lot for heroes like Costume Ariel, Costume Inari. What's more? Basically, they are able to push the thresholds of average speed heroes in that family to go to 8 tiles, which might make a difference in how you change the way you play, the way you move tiles in order for you to get what you need from Costume Ariel. A lot of the time, you would have to use. I think if you use you still have to use. I think it doesn't matter. You still have to use a level 20 magic trick on Costume Ariel. But if you have a bard in there, then you can use a level 30 mana troop, I think. But essentially, that it also improves. I like how that they are realizing that, hey, you know what, with these changes in all these hero stats, we should actually improve on the other costumes from the different families. The Easter family, the Morlovia family, the Legends 2017, 2018 are now moving from 1% mana to 5% mana. So I think heroes like Evelyn and Gregorian will be extra better now with the mana increase. Same as the Sand Empire and Winter family. So Krampus now gets 5% 5% mana, which is I think really, really good as well. So yeah, that's how things work here, and I think this is a really nice step. The fact that they are realigning all the mana bonuses for costumes, and I think that's a really good step forward, especially for heroes that are getting somewhat neglected in terms of power level. Ariel is not getting a stat boost at all. She's only going to get a stat boost if you have the costume, and that really helps then. And I think maybe in the future, if people see costume Ariel in soul exchanges or faded summons, then maybe that's a way for them to get it. And I consider costume Ariel to be one of the best healers after Hathor. I mean, Hathor is still number one though. Like there's no doubt about that. Hathor is still number one, but costume Ariel it's somewhere close there as well. The family bonus changes, this one is not really too relevant. It's pretty hard in this current day and age to play multiple heroes of the same family, because you want to utilize the bard mana bonus instead. But the Sakura family will be a bit interesting. Plus 3, 6, 9, 11, 13% mana generation for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heroes. Sakura family being, I think, the one with Kage Burado, Mitsuko, and potentially one more, I don't remember. And then Sand Empire family, So this one is not really too relevant, but it gets relevant when the Sand Empire family does increase in size, which is coming because they are having the beach party heroes come in as well from the beta. So now let's look at some special skill adjustments as well that is happening. Now I'm not going to go through them one by one. You can read it for yourselves, but some ones which I want to highlight, which I'm pretty happy about actually. So Bertilla, I think this is basically for that particular Legends family. All the minion HPs are increased by 1%. Yes, I mean, yeah, sure, whatever, but doesn't really make much of a difference. The one that I'm actually pretty excited on is Boss Wolf. I think players would have realized that the range of the mana generation counter attack buffs that only hits nearby doesn't make sense in this day and age, and I like that they changed it to all allies. That makes Boss Wolf so much better when you look at it from a very fast standpoint. Especially when the meta is slowly shifting, where you don't really use 2 revivers anymore, or reviver Kalo anymore. If you look at like how Avengers play Rush Wars, or some of the higher alliance, what they do is instead of a reviver they use another damage dealer. Boss Wolf suddenly comes into life with this, because then with the counter attack buffs to all allies, regardless of who they hit, right? So if they use something like Amus or Khufu, they are going to die from the counter attacks. That does the same as well for like Aramis's, if you're able to fire Boss Wolf before Aramis, and that's really good because whoever he hits is going to get counter attack, unless he bypasses, which is a real pain in the ass, let me tell you. Mistero, not too relevant. Telluria, I think they're trying to bring back Telluria to its former glory, but the one thing I don't see here is the mana generation, the negative mana generation increase. I think that was the reason why Telluria was so strong. And I don't see it change, which means Telluria it's still irrelevant here. I like that Visaro has increased in terms of its damage and Fiend HP, which is really good, I think. Zulak is still irrelevant, so whatever it is. And basically the ones after this will be the full list of affected heroes. Some of these heroes will basically get a huge stat buff. To give you an example, Econia and Adelinda. Adelinda is getting a huge stat boost because she's part of the Monster Hunter family, which is getting plus 50 power. The rest of it are just costume bonuses increase, and as well as you're going to see basically the whole list of more than 200 legendary heroes get increased in terms of their stats. Again, I'm going to emphasize, I do not like that they're buffing it and not introducing any nerfs whatsoever or any reworks, because then it begs the question, are players going to assume that there's no nerfs happening in the future, and they're going to follow whatever is changing here in the meta, or whatever that's changing here with these heroes, and continue to use their ethers or their limit break materials onto the heroes that are potentially super buffed? Or are they going to wait for the nerfs to happen? And you realize that there's a conundrum there then, because are you still going to spend with knowing fully well that nerfs are coming? Or are you going to take it in stride and maybe, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, well, tough luck. Well, then I'm glad I invested all this material into it. The idea for this though, it's very interesting. Like, if you were to ask me personally, what do I think about this? I think that SG has decided, I'm gonna entice players to come and play back because I've increased the stats of more than 200 legendary heroes here. At the same time, I probably realize that with the latest heroes release, we have probably made a mistake somewhere. This is just my opinion. For example, Hurricane. We have made a mistake with Hurricane. The design with Hurricane has gone somewhere. It feels wrong. And when I say it feels wrong, it means that Hurricane is borderlining at a level where if he fires twice, like the first time he fires, he's probably going to kill at least one hero. the second time he fires, it's game over for you. We haven't had a hero that to that level of destructiveness, I think, except for when I think Telluria was around. And even then, Telluria was kind of solved towards the end. Um, Introducing heroes that can kind of deal with her was kind of okay, and I think the rework to Telluria made her so much weaker. So I would say that Hurricane, once they rework Hurricane to something that is not so destructive, it is where it's the basically the make or break moment for Empires and Puzzles. Because let's face it, everybody knows that Aramis, um, Hathor, Jove, and which by the way, N was never not mentioned in the notes here where they were affecting these heroes. N was never mentioned here. Aramis, we know the nerfs was coming, healing nerf, and his ailment block is no longer dispellable. After playing with against Aramis for so many times, I don't have Aramis, but when I play in wars, I'll have to deal with Aramis all the time. If you pair Aramis with Hathor, you could time Aramis's undispellable ailment block to kind of counter Hathor firing. So when Aramis is still active, you would want to fire Hathor as well. So basically that made Hathor's ailment block completely useless. But now that Aramis becomes dispellable, you can suddenly stack both of them up, so you suddenly lose that edge where you can hit Aramis, and then you let Aramis hit you once, and then while his buff is still active, you kind of charge Hathor as well. So Hathor's buff will not have any use at all, except for the big heal. We all know Aramis was going to get nerfed. Ferdinand was going to get a huge rework. Jove was getting cut. I think the damage was getting cut by about 60 to 70%, which is fine actually. Ojima as well is being reduced in terms of the damage, which was warranted as well. I mean, a single hero hitting all, and as long as you have like 2 or 3 minions, you deal so much damage that it basically hurts like hell. We all know those nerfs are coming. The one we don't know is heroes like Erlang Shen, Camilla, Hurricane, Milady the Winter. What nerfs are we going to see here? Narcissa as well was not mentioned in the balance update beta where she was getting nerfed. There was no sign of her getting nerfed. What's going to happen then? It's this fear of what's coming next that I feel that this balance update is a mistake. And let me just continue further. The fact that they did not mention N, they did not mention Amethyst, and they did not mention Nyx, which is part of the Nyx Hypnos combo that everybody likes to use, whether is it for defense or whether is it for offense. The fact that they did not mention these 3 heroes makes me feel a bit scared. I have Amethyst myself, and I think she's overpowered because, her charge 1 and charge 2 is just so destructive. I don't even bother waiting for charge 3. Amethyst deserves a little bit of rework to kind of pull her back a little bit, to kind of play in this field. The only thing that's happened right now is I think Amethyst got a slight buff. Yeah, she got a slight buff as well because she's part of the Ninja 2023. Same thing as Serendite as well. So again, I felt that this is just very rushed, and they're missing a lot of things, and I think as we're going to see over the few weeks, we're going to see some changes happen again. I feel that they'll introduce a little bit more changes. The changes to max health reduction, I think, was not mentioned here, but I think it was mentioned in a different balance update as well. We're going to see whether Camilla will be a bit too oppressive. Barkley, I don't think they needed to change Barkley. I don't think Barkley is that strong anyways. Snowball also not really too strong, I would say. But Erlang, as a player who double limit broke Erlang, I feel like his nerf is coming. Because he's just really oppressive in Equalizer. So I'm not getting my hopes up at all. I will be resetting a few things just to kind of maintain relevancy in the wars that I'm facing. But it's a very interesting step here by SG to kind of introduce this balance update where it's full on buffs, no nerfs. Even the Alpha Taunt nerfs are not mentioned here. You know, Ludwig is getting a stat boost. Is he? Wait, hold on. I'm not sure. I don't think he's getting a stat boost. Am I hallucinating? Let's have a look. Ludwig. I do believe he was supposed to get a stat boost. No, he's not. Okay. Ludwig is not getting a stat boost, but his Alpha Taunt might be reduced. And that changes, you know, the landscape for Taunt heroes like Krampus, Kara as well, where they are receiving a couple of nerfs as well. So, you know, what's going to happen in the next few weeks? What's going to happen? Are they going to release some form of nerfs that's happening? And that's going to, again, change how the landscape is being formed in this game. So, the final thing I want to talk about is the fact that they gave us... Oh, hold on. They gave us a few teasers to what you can actually do with the things that you have. Now that you know that certain things are getting buffed and certain things are, you know, potentially not getting nerfed for now, is that they have given us 3 Aether Reset tokens. Now, just to show you what these Aether Reset tokens do, let me just go to Erlang here. You click Available Tomes, then you click Aether Reset, and you get to see, don't worry, I'm not going to reset it, but basically you're going to see what happens when you reset a certain hero. You're going to get back your food, you're going to get back the trainer heroes, which is basically the experience you used, the feeders you used to kind of level this limit broken hero, and you're going to get back all your food resources, you're going to get back your alpha ethers, you're going to get back your the initial first level of limit break ethers, you're going to get back your fighter emblems, because everything he's going to get neutered all the way down to the base level of 480. So all the fighter emblems, as well as if you use the golden emblem, I think I use the golden emblem for Erlang as well, so you're going to get all of this back. So these are basically the materials you use to double limit break him, because I don't have a tome of experience. So yeah, you're going to get all this back, and I think it works also for single limit broken heroes. Let me just try that, and let's see if that happens here. So if I do that, yeah, you're going to get back your resources as well. Yep, so I use 4 golden emblems for Queen, so I'm going to get back all 4 of them as well, which is pretty good. I like how they're giving this Aether Reset, and I think that's the most favorite thing that people have done and people have received over this. I think what they're doing right now is they're preparing, especially for those who have Miriam and Midnight, not so much on I think Water Pipe, but for those who have Miriam and Midnight, they're probably going to, you know, remove the Aethers from her and potentially use it for other heroes. Myself, if you ask me what I'm doing, so I have one hero that I'm no longer using, which is Hohenwerth. So I am going to potentially strip this off. I'm still thinking about it. I might just use one to basically Aether Reset him, and I'm going to be giving the Aethers to maybe Ruffian, because I think Ruffian is really good. Either to Ruffian, or I might level Cupido, whom I've just gotten, and potentially do that. But anyways, just as a final thing for the video, basically for heroes that I have, you can see that some of the heroes have gotten their stats increased. Like Geffion right now, I think Geffion was increased because of the costume bonus. I think, was it? If I'm not mistaken, she got increased. Capri got increased by 25 power. So you can see this, the stats increase. Econia, as I mentioned, has increased. Narcissa, you don't see much because I've actually double limit broken her. But you can see like how Athena now has the 5% mana bonus, which is really good. And then you can see what else. What else can I show that makes a whole lot of difference? Yeah, this one Guinevere gets plus 20 power, so her stats looks a bit more reasonable in order to deal with the bigger folks. So I might use my one of my ether resets. I'm not going to use all three. Probably use one ether reset. The good thing about me was that I never actually gotten the heroes that were potentially affected in the previous nerfs. I didn't get Miriam and Midnight. I did not finish my Matilda. I don't have Aramis. I don't have some of these heroes. As Nullfort, I think I still use Nullfort, so it's not a nerf for me. I still use him a lot in my wars. Yeah, so that's basically it. I might just reset. Yeah, I just might reset Hohenwolf actually, and get back some valuable resources there. And who else am I? I still use most of my other things. So the good thing about me is I've been very cautious in terms of what I limit break, and what I basically what I use for certain heroes as well. I don't think you can do it on a you can't reset heroes that you have not limit broken, but I think you can do this with him, and you're gonna get back like stuff like this, which don't worry, I'm not doing it for Liu Bei, but essentially that's it. I think it's too long of a video right now. Let me know what you think of this balance update. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you neutral about it? And let me know if you use your reset tokens already. I know I have an alliance member who actually use all three already. So let me know what you guys do with yours. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video then. GG.